came to Washington, story time is over. That never happened in 2008 with John McCain and Barack Obama. But what I just described is exactly how day one went for President-elect Donald Trump. That exact thing just happened on day one. I mean, today's headlines were dominated by this. President Obama has been unusually aggressive in planning for the presidential transition. The Obama White House started transition planning fully a year ago because they wanted to make sure to get it right no matter who the next president was going to be. It's interesting, it's going fast too. When George W. Bush invited President-elect Barack Obama to the White House 6 days after the 2008 election, that was seen as unusually fast for a first meeting after the election. Obama was at the White House meeting George W. 6 days after that election. 6 days, that was seen as very fast. This time Obama made it not quite a day and a half. Just a day and a half before he had Donald Trump up to the White House. So it was seen as fast before, it's lightning now. The transition is starting, and protests continue to spring up around the country in response to these shock election results. We're in particular tonight watching large protests in Baltimore and in a few other cities around the country as these basically organic, spontaneous protests continue to erupt, as protesters have converged on Trump Tower, where President-elect Donald Trump still lives in Midtown Manhattan. His transition team has physically moved to D.C., and the transition is underway. And one of the things that's really, really important about that, about the transition, perhaps this year above all other years, is that the transition being underway right now means that Donald Trump is getting his first real access to high-level American intelligence information. This is no longer just the generic overview he got in the candidates' briefing during the campaign. He is now getting, as far as we know, the president's daily brief, which includes things, typically, like covert actions taken in secret by the U.S. government and the U.S. military, actions designed to never be disclosed to the public or to other countries, top secret operations, top secret surveillance, unbelievably proprietary, closely held data that you and I will never know about, that even the vast majority of even the uppermost people in government will never know about. I mean, remember, the whole reason we got this briefing process in the first place is because FDR freaking died right after he got reelected in 1945. And when Vice President Harry Truman got sworn in as president thereafter, nobody even told Truman we had the atomic bomb until after he'd already been president for a few days. I mean, when Truman became president, he had no idea that we had that. That's why we started briefing candidates for president and presidents-elect on their way into the Oval Office, so nobody would be blindsided the way that Truman was. And so now, yeah, there are these super top secret daily intelligence briefings that go to the President of the United States. And as of today, President-elect Donald Trump gets them too. And today, the Russian government said it really was in contact all along with the Trump campaign during the time when U.S. intelligence agencies say the Russian government was interfering in our election and leaking all those tens of thousands of documents from the Hillary Clinton campaign and from the Democratic Party, dribbling out this massive document leak against Clinton in a way that undoubtedly lengthened her odds against Donald Trump in the U.S. presidential campaign. During the time that U.S. intelligence says that was happening, the Russian government today said that their contacts with the Trump campaign not only existed during the time of the campaign, but they have continued all this time with, what was the quote there? Quite a few members of the Trump campaign. Imagine if something like this had been disclosed ever about any other presidential candidate or any other president-elect. Imagine if something like this was disclosed, publicly admitted by the Russian government, when Barack Obama had just beaten John McCain and Barack Obama was on his way into the White House. Imagine what would have happened had we learned about what the Russian government says are links about that campaign and about that candidate and a hostile foreign power that intervened in our election to try to pick the next U.S. president. That is now what has happened with the Trump campaign. And now, because he's president-elect, the U.S. intelligence community has to decide what they're going to tell him. What would you do? What would you tell him? Well, for example, would you tell him about any spies that we've got working for us inside the Russian government or inside the Russian military? American pilots are making bombing runs in Syria these days. We are actively militarily engaged in a part of the Syrian civil war. Russia, depending on how you define it, is sort of on the other side of that conflict. They've got their one creaky old aircraft carrier over there for the Syrian theater and everything. Let's say, hypothetically, that we've got some incredible intel on how we're going to outflank Russia in that military fight. Or we've got some incredible intel about what Russia is going to do next because we've got a spy high up in the Russian government who has secretly fed us that information, unbeknownst to the Russian government. Let's say that information is really important for American national security, for American military strategy, for lots of other things we're doing in the region that all hinge on this one secret that we stole from the Russian government, and they don't know that we've got it. Would you tell President-elect Donald Trump that information? Would you tell him the name of the spy that we've got in Putin's inner circle, hypothetically? Do you tell him, hypothetically, what the cyber command is about to do to nuke Putin's personal secret bank accounts in retaliation for him hacking into our election? Do you tell him? If you're the US intelligence community, can you trust the president-elect with that information? Quote, Russia said it was in contact with President-elect Donald Trump's team during the US election campaign, despite repeated denials by the Republican candidate's advisors. Quote, there were contacts before the election, says Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov. Quote, we continue this work, of course, he said, without giving details of what the contacts were. That really happened today. Imagine how that would have shot through the political system in 2008 had this been Barack Obama we're talking about in the race against John McCain, and not Donald Trump in his race against Hillary Clinton. There are elements of the US government, particularly on the national security side, that in one way or another, they persist through the comings and goings of different administrations, right? But even though the agencies of the national security apparatus and the military and the intelligence field, they are staffed by mostly career folks, who stay there year in and year out, no matter who the president is, ultimately all of those agencies really do in a specific way, answer to the president. And in a certain reductive way, all of the intelligence agencies in the United States, this multi-zillion-dollar intelligence apparatus that we've got, it all exists specifically to provide information to one person, to the president, to steal secrets about the world, to steal secrets from other countries, in order to help the president make high-level decisions that no one else is empowered to make and that no one else is trusted to make. In sensitive intelligence information, it's compartmentalized. The most sensitive intelligence information isn't just compartmentalized. It's incredibly, incredibly closely held. But the most closely held anything, the president can see it. The president gets to see everything. This president-elect said he would plan to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin after this election, even while President Obama is still in office. The two candidate classified briefings that this president-elect got during the campaign, both of those reportedly included detailed information on the Russian government hacking to influence our election. After both of those briefings from the intelligence community, Donald Trump said publicly he didn't believe the intelligence, he didn't believe the agencies, it was a bogus claim, it was made up, it was just public relations. Donald Trump's most prominent advisor with intelligence-related credentials is retired General Michael Flynn, who was forced out of his job as director of the Defense Intelligence Agency recently, and who last year dined, there he is, with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Trump's last campaign manager before Kellyanne Conway, Paul Manafort, he ran an investment fund for a Russian aluminum mogul who's a close friend, close associate of Vladimir Putin. Paul Manafort was fired as Trump's campaign manager after his name turned up on secret handwritten ledgers showing that a pro-Putin despot in Ukraine had paid him millions of dollars for political services of some kind. And now, at a time when the US intelligence agencies say that Russia was running a PSYOP, a psychological operation to influence us, to influence the US election and pick the next president, now Russia says it was in contact with the Trump campaign during that time, while they ran that op effectively against Hillary Clinton. So, if you're the US intelligence community, if you're the director of the CIA, if you are the director of national intelligence, today, what'd you tell him? I mean, as of today, what do? Do you give Donald Trump, as of today, our best sources, our best methods, our most secret stuff about Russia? Do you give him our best dirt on Putin? Our biggest plans about Putin? Tell him about our spies in Putin's government? And what do you do if you're President Obama right now deciding exactly how you're going to hand over these keys? We are in uncharted territory in so many ways. When I think about what's about to happen next in the Democratic Party, what happens in politics, for all of us in a way, but specifically for Democrats and for liberals in this new era we're now in, the new era